Hey guys, welcome to another Warframe video, and it was just tennocon a few moments ago, and yeah, my game crashed, so I didn't even really get to see the ending of what was gonna happen there after the dragon was flying around. And when I relogged, I don't even have access to the relays and stuff like that again, to those special relays, so it kind of screwed me over. I don't know if there was anything else, but besides that, there is so much to talk about here. There is just so much data that you can pull from this, so many speculations or predictions you can make, or assumptions, whatever you want to call it. But you probably follow me because you like that I make speculations about these little things here and there. And if you look at my track record, the majority of the time I actually am correct. I don't want to sound like I'm on an ego trip or something like that, but my last video I didn't actually know all the things I was right about. All I said was like, oh look, they filled up the stores. I actually wanted that, and I said that should happen, and now it happened. And I lost viewers, I guess, because they thought that that was my only prediction. No, since my first Warframe video, I've been making predictions, and pretty much every single video there's stuff in there that happens. Maybe it happens because I called it correctly, or maybe DE didn't intend that, and they saw my video, or word got leaked of what I said, my idea, and they ended up implementing that anyway. But regardless, what I said came to pass. So getting all that out the way, what do I actually see for the Duviri Paradox and the future? Honestly, I'm not gonna bullshit you. This morning when I woke up, I was dreading it. I'm like, oh my god, there's not gonna be anything. It's gonna be really linear, and I'm not gonna have a video. I'm not gonna have anything to talk about, and this is the video I've been waiting to make for quite a while. So I was pretty nervous, I'm not gonna lie to you. But I was not disappointed because I have so much to say. I'm probably gonna leave out so many things here because I'm not even gonna be able to articulate everything that's running through my mind right now. But I'm gonna try to give you as much as I can. So first I want to say that I think DE, like if you are DE, you kind of fucked up on this one. It's because not the very part, none of that. I'm talking about like how the presentation was, because at the same time that we're in the relay watching this play out, you're streaming something else at the same time, and I can't watch both at the same time. So that was kind of annoying, and I was kind of sloppy. I don't think you should do that next year or ever again. But at least it kind of aligns pretty good. But still, like, I had to look back on a video I recorded of the gameplay while watching the Twitch stream, which was sloppy. That was pretty sloppy, guys. But anyway, let's move on from that. Oh, first point I want to make is eternalism. So I don't like eternalism. Like, I've made many complaints about this in the past. You've probably seen those videos. But despite the fact that I don't like it, the fact that they already introduced it and said stuff about it, now that it's canon, right, at least for the Void, you have to keep going down this path. You can't go back and retcon it. I hate retconning stuff, right? So I like that they actually... It makes sense. Like, this is eternalism. Like, time is at least maybe not looping, but looping and then going forward, if that's making sense to you. I guess you can't see my finger. And I kind of thought this in the past, but I didn't ever mention it because I thought it was a little bit out there, and then it wouldn't, like, I didn't really have enough to speculate on it. But I thought that perhaps time looped on itself, and like we were the cause, the fall of the Orican Empire. And you may say, Raven, we know that. No, but I mean, like, the future version of us was the cause of leading the rebellion in the past. That's what I was thinking, but I never said that because I was like, whoa, that's a bit much. Like, you're reaching a bit there. But it looks like, yeah, like everything may loop around. Like, maybe not even just in this one instance, but in the future, time may loop around again. Like look at who's there. This is the Orican. This is the Dax and stuff like that. This is, like, I have predicted this in the past in a different video. I think it was the first Duviri Paradox video I made, where I said these guys look like Dax warriors, and I had speculated that these Dax warriors were probably sent into the Void way before the 10-0 just to like be a scouting crew, and then they got stuck there. And these are the Dax we see. And it turns out that this may actually be true, because there's a lot of Dax there. And I also said in one of my previous videos that there's probably going to be a whole empire of these Daxes all over the place, and horses and stuff like that. It's a civilization here. And it turns out that there is kind of a civilization here. So that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to like gloat like, oh, I'm right about everything. I'm not right about everything. But I give you these little tidbits so you can see, like, this is what I do. Like, but assuming you know me, and assuming you know what I do. Let's move on. So what else do I see? Well, the hand that's on the floor that, you know, the player picked up. I'm assuming that's the player, that's us in the future, I guess, and in the past. In the future of the past, I don't know how to, my words don't know how to say this, okay? But you're following me, you know, I just can't verbally say it. But anyway, that hand, I think that's the Lotus's hand. Perhaps not our Lotus's hand, or not our timeline of Lotus's hand. Wow, this is messy. I'm gonna leave that part in there just because it sounds really funny to me. So I'm gonna leave it in there and move on, and assume you get the gist of what I'm trying to say there. So what else do I see? Well, that old cool sage looking dude, that's obviously like tension, and it may actually even be our tension that was killed and like maybe fell in the void, and maybe, you know, it got restored there because the people in there, you know, wanted to keep him. You know, they got some kind of like frozen in time kind of paradise place for the amusement of whoever is the ruler, right? This is like a freaking Stargate kind of episode happening right here. But it looks like this place is frozen in time, like I'm saying. It's there for that person's amusement, and that's why they don't let anyone die. That's why time is frozen, and it just keeps repeating or whatever is transpiring there, because that looks like that place is out of time. It's his own little pocket dimension. That's what the void is. And what I'm trying to say is the old sage dude is probably tension, and not just an alternate version of our tension. I think that actually maybe our actual tension, the one that, you know, fought the battle for us. And he's older, sure, but time is wonky. You remember, this is we're playing with eternalism here. We don't know if he was actually in the void for a bit and then went somewhere else for a while, aged there, and somehow came back in. We don't know what happened, but I'm assuming that this is our actual tension, just more aged and more wised. What else do I see? Well, that spear that went through the player's body when they were about to be executed, I think that was the Warframe, that new Greek Warframe, the spear and shield guy. I think that's him, and he helped you. I think that's your Warframe, I guess in the future or in the past, again, doesn't matter. And he tried to save you. Like, maybe him hitting you didn't damage you, maybe it healed you or gave you some kind of immunity to death or something. I don't know, but that's what I'm thinking it is so far. There's a lot of other things that weren't actually in this section of tennocon, but they said throughout the day, because one thing they said throughout the day is they said something like, this is the man in the wall, we're going to see more of him today in tennocon, blah blah blah. And I was like, really interesting. So the man in the wall, well, I know he's in the void, but like, he's gonna be a part of it, like we're actually gonna have to deal with him. But they didn't show him at all in the trailer. They didn't, at least I didn't see any man in the wall signs of anything anywhere, right? Unless the man in the wall was there, but not in a form that we know him as. And we actually didn't know him in any form, you know, before the new war. Like, he didn't have a form. So if you were expecting to see like the actual flat board with a guy in it, because now that's what your image of him is, and you didn't see that, you're like, well, he wasn't there. Yeah, but maybe he's taking another form. This is his home, right? Like, when he's outside of the void, he's mimicking our image, but perhaps in, you know, this timeline, or, you know, this place, he's choosing to be someone else or something else. So really quick, I want to note before you guys start to opt out of the video, I have more predictions for other stuff I saw of the future of Warframe that I'm going to talk about in this video later. But to wrap up this first segment of the beginning, what do all these little tidbits mean? Well, it's kind of looking like Battlestar Galactica, which I kind of implied in the past, which is like everything that happened before will happen again, but not always the same, because like they said during the stream, it's kind of like a Groundhog Day scenario. So time keeps looping. The man in the wall, or the person in the throne, perhaps with the help of the man in the wall, if they're not the man in the wall, is able to loop back time. That's what I'm thinking. So this pocket dimension exists. All the people in it are there for that ruler's amusement. And when they, you know, age, or they run out of life, or they start to die, or they rebel, whatever happens, to end that, they'll just loop back to the beginning and play it over again. With their lives, playing with their lives over again. That's why I said this is kind of like a Stargate episode, right? However, that's why Tension said, you took the hand this time. And he's like, yeah, this is the first time. What are you talking about? This is the first time. But it's like, it's not. It's not the first time, buddy. Okay, I've been here. You don't know. You don't remember. Because he's probably from outside of the loop, right? So time keeps looping, and not always is the same scenario happening. This is what I'm guessing is the best scenario for us, is we broke out of the cycle and we escaped the void, and as a result we end up doing all this other stuff on the outside, which is, you know, we get into Warframes, we rebelled against Oregon, blah blah blah. The history as we know it ends up happening the way that it happened for us, but that doesn't always transpire, which I think is actually perfect. It was actually beautiful and poetic from my point of view. This is where I see the future headed, not just in the game but outside of the game, which I'm gonna explain. I'm not saying that this is the end, but this is a closed circuit, so it's gonna loop on itself and then become what we know Warframe as to be, or how it, the missing pieces that we didn't remember, we will now know what happened in those pieces because we will play them out, and it would loop back to the beginning of how Warframe actually started. But though I said it's like a closed circuit and it loops around, I don't mean it loops around and then it ends and that's the end of the thing, but it does reach a conclusion that could leave you satisfied, and I guess some people may think that's a good enough end, but it's not at the actual end of the game, because the game can keep going past that point. It's just it looped back and closed, it filled in all the gaps of the past that we didn't actually understand or we didn't know. It'll fill in everything, and then once we hit the end of where it would have looped back to go to the past again, it won't, because this is that guy's future now. It'll keep going forward to an unknown chapter. And I'm saying all of this because it looked like in Steve's mind he pretty much filled in all the blanks and everything looped around perfectly, so it pretty much wrapped itself nice and neatly, and it left him content. So he's like, okay, I did my job, everything's pretty good, it's fine, and he can move on to the next challenge in his life, which looks like a new game that looks very Warframe inspired. But that being said, that doesn't mean Warframe is done, because now it's the new chapter. Now it looks like Rebecca can take the harness and do whatever she wants, make whatever call she wants, you know, within reason of doubt, but she don't have to, you know, ask Steve, should we do this, can we do this? She can just do it if she thinks it's the best choice, which I'm not saying is a good thing or a bad thing. It's just going to be a different thing and a new thing, because he would have taken this direction and she's her own person, so she'll take a different direction. So Warframe is going to look different in the future. If you want some just random assumptions of what I know of her mind throughout the years of watching, you know, dev stream and, you know, primetime and stuff like that, you know, maybe on Halloween's there'll be more vampire themed stuff because she likes, you know, stuff like that, as do I. So I'm happy for it, I'm all for it. And maybe because, you know, she's, you know, she might let other people have their stuff. Like there may be more holiday themed stuff, or like maybe on Christmas there'll be like snowball fights as a seasonal event or something like that. I don't know, but it seems like something she would do for, you know, Megan. Just throwing it out there. It looks like stuff that maybe Steve didn't care about in the past. He's like, you know, that's not really relevant, that's not waste time. Maybe in her mind she's like, you know, that's fun and we should do that, and it's something that we'll keep repeating every year, so maybe we should invest a little bit of time this year to do that, and then it'll stay there forever. So maybe we'll have stuff like that coming in the future, and more evidence that, you know, this isn't the end of the game, just in case some of you are thinking that. Like, remember they were talking about like that they're gonna add more to the end of the new war, so there's gonna be more archons and stuff like that, which I had predicted in the past in one of my videos. Just saying. But yeah, like they're gonna add more stuff to this. Like, it looked like they were missing pieces, like they weren't complete, they weren't finished, and it looks like now they're gonna bring that stuff in and add it, which they should have, and they should, you know. So that's cool, and that shows that that's not the end, because even old stuff is still being worked on, and we're not even knowing what's next, because what's the next chapter beyond this? Sure, we know that we're gonna get more stuff for the archons, but that's adding to after the new war, and we know we're gonna go into the Duviri Paradox and deal with all this stuff. We know that, but what's coming after that, which is always what's been on my mind. And I was hoping that they'll drop some little hints here as to what's coming after the Duviri Paradox, but there's nothing there. The only thing that I see that's there is now Rebecca's in charge, as far as I could tell, right? So it's her call as to what she wants to make next, and I find that very interesting. Not just because it's like her. I mean, I do like her, but I'm not saying it's just because it's her. It's because it's a new person with a brand new perspective. Like, what is her vision of how Warframe is? What is her vision of the universe or how the story is going to play out? I'm sure we all have our own headcanon of stuff, but now her headcanon is going to be reality. And it's going to be different from Steve's reality. So I just find it really interesting, like what could possibly be next. And I'm hoping for cute little things added into the game, like maybe a romance system. Just saying. So all in all, I'm pretty happy with this conclusion of like how everything turned out. You know, that Rebecca's taking the lead, and that I was gonna say Noir, but that the Duviri Paradox wraps up like this. It all looks good, and it leaves me so curious as to know what's coming next. I mean, all this stuff and the Duviri Paradox looks really fucking awesome. But what is next is driving me crazy. Anyway, what do you guys think? What are you guys' thoughts on all this? Anyway, that's it for now. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you next time.